Hello, welcome to the Rhythm of Business podcast. So excited to have with us this morning Bekah Polly, who is the Chief Heart Officer for Perfectly Polly. And we're excited to have her this morning just to be able to share with us some of the insights of being an entrepreneur, a little bit about her and her business, and how we navigate this space of entrepreneurship and finding that rhythm. So, Bekah, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to your sharing with us this morning. If you can just get us started, just introduce yourself to us, help us understand who you are and what you all do.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. It's absolutely a pleasure. So my name is Bekah, and like you said, I'm the CHO for Perfectly Polly, the Chief Heart Officer. I am very much a how can we practically use what we're already doing to also shed light on social justice type issues. And that's kind of how I landed in doing Perfectly Polly, launching that about almost 5 years ago now. To do bookkeeping for people. My family and I, we live in Louisville, Kentucky. We have been foster parents. I've had the privilege of adopting out of foster care, and that is kind of where my heart, the justice side of what I do with my bookkeeping. You'll hear some of that later when we talk some more, but we always try to make space at our table for anybody, and that is also true within our business. If there's somebody who needs help, we try to find a way to invite them to the table and help them get a good grasp on their numbers. We don't want numbers to be scary. We want them to be a tool and a resource to where our brilliant CEOs that we work with and get link arms with get to make super financially savvy decisions and move their business forward.
Wow, I can just tell you now, Bekah, I already hear the heart. So yeah, I'll tell you what you are. This is going to be exciting. So thank you so much for that. Just to get us started a little bit more, what inspired you to take this leap into this entrepreneurial space? Help us to understand that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like I said, we were foster parents and I was working for corporate businesses. I did not go to school for accounting. I went to school for Spanish. Thoroughly thought God was going to call me to the mission field. He redirected that to where I'm supposed to love people wherever I'm at. And so we opened our home to foster care. All the kids that came into our home required quite a bit of hands-on care, lots of doctor's appointments, lots of therapy appointments, lots of court appointments we had to go to. And as amazing as the corporate world, the businesses that I worked for were, they still had to get work done, and my family needs and their business needs were always in tension, no matter how much space they made for us. So, and they tried really hard. So with that, I became pregnant in 2019, and I felt guilty going into tax season, knowing I was going to be out. I don't do taxes, but we link arms with CPAs. And so I knew I was going to be out during the busy time. And I said, I can't do that to a company. They're being kind. They are trying to make space for everything I need. So I went ahead and turned my notice in early and thought, well, how do I still meet the needs of my family? And that's how we launched Perfectly Polly. It started off as a virtual office management company. I got really bored with the normal administrative tasks and wanted to focus on bookkeeping because I had close to 12 years in the accounting world experience, and was seeing how my clients who were needing administrative help, they were missing the mark pretty badly with their financials. And I knew I had the skills to help them get it cleaned up. And as I worked with those clients and got their books cleaned up, their CPAs loved me. And they're like, you really should just focus on bookkeeping. And I said, sure. That actually sounds like exactly what I want to do. So we pivoted right before COVID hit to focus on just bookkeeping, which, COVID created quite a bit of its own struggles. But it was just an answer to what my family needed, because I needed the flexibility to either wake up early in the morning to get work done or be able to work late at night based off of what my family needed me to do as well. So we launched Perfectly Polly. My husband was in full support, even though he knew the first couple of years were going to be financially very rocky. we didn't know how rocky when we set out because COVID,
Absolutely.
but we knew it was gonna be a little bit of struggle. But our clients were fantastic. And our needs were always met. So we just kind of knew that we were doing what we were supposed to be doing. Um, I I've never really been one to, like, I always thought I would be in the nonprofit world
Mhm.
somehow because social justice issues are just, that's just my, I just want to do something about them. But they have a hard time making money, raising funds. And I was like, there has got to be a way that people can work for profit and still use that profit for good. And so that's what I was setting out to do and have made some pretty cool contacts along the way to do that.
Wow, that is awesome. That's amazing. That's amazing. What are some of the misconceptions you found being a business owner, being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I'm sure you've seen those memes where people are like, I left working for the corporate world to work for myself so I can work my schedule to only work like 80 plus hours a week.
Yeah.
So I don't think people understand fully the hustle that is required to go into being an entrepreneur. Um, when people know, like, hear that I own my own business, they think that we are just really well off. And we're, because I choose to prioritize my profits to put back into the community, our needs are met, but I wouldn't say that we are really well off. And so there's a lot of hustle, and there is a lot of big reward. It's just not always going to be, oh, I'm going to now pay myself $250,000 or whatever it is that people think that's going to happen when they become an entrepreneur. Quite a few of my clients who are solopreneurs or small business entrepreneurs, they get really discouraged those first couple of years because they're expecting to immediately have a nice profit. And I've had to encourage them, like, no, actually the first 2 to 3 years is going to be your toughest. And pretty much that's why the first 2 to 3 years most entrepreneurs are solopreneurs,
Mhm.
because they need to keep their operation costs down. So I have found when working with those that are starting that entrepreneur life, that they kind of expect an immediate turnaround with seeing that income coming in. And it really does take quite a few years to get where your feet feel pretty solid. And we felt that too. One of the other misconceptions I think I've heard people say is like, oh, you can just work whenever you want to. And while yes, that's true, my clients have things that I have to meet, like deadlines for. And my kids, all, they're in school, and schools like to do things to include families, and kids want their parents to be there, so I try to be there as much as possible. So my schedule is not yet my own. I'm still hustling to the grind of meeting client needs and also trying to meet my family needs.
I love it. I mean, you're such a pleasure to speak with. I am telling you that.
Oh, thank
This
you.
is awesome. So, as you say that about your children and having a heart to be there and to be with your clients, and then you have this heart for social justice, and you have a lot going on in your heart as a chief heart officer. So, yeah, Joe,
Yeah.
how do you find balance? What are some things that,
Mm.
as an entrepreneur, you do to find balance?
Well, I haven't found it yet. If I'm being very honest, I haven't found it yet. But the big thing that I did, the past, I think I did it about a month or two ago. So I'll back up a little bit. We just welcomed a sweet little girl into our home, January 24th. She came 5 weeks early, and she was in the NICU for about 11 days. And that is where I kind of felt the real crunch of me not being present with my family. And so I think February or March, I said, I have too many notifications popping off on my phone. I do not need that. Family stuff, yes, that makes sense for that to be on all the time. I need to be reachable as a mom. Work wise, I should be able to clock in and out and not have my phone yelling at me every time a client needs something. Um, in the bookkeeping world, there is very little that is life and death that needs to be taken care of immediately. So I just went through my apps and turned off the notifications so that when I'm in work mode, I purposely go into those apps and find what I need. And then when I'm out of work mode, it's not yelling at me to come get work done. So that is one of the things that I had to do. I also started turning off my computer at night instead of leaving it open for the next day so that I wouldn't hear the dings to come in and do some work. So I have also purposefully left my phone in a different room, so I'm not even tempted to open up my phone and look at my like my email to see what's come in. So it's just I heard somebody say it's not that we don't have enough hours in the day, is that we don't know how to prioritize our hours in the day. And I was like, I'm prioritizing wrong. Yes, I need to support my clients, and that's how we have income coming in. But my kids are only going to be kids once. And once that season is gone, it's gone. There's no getting that back. And the same can be said about you're only going to be in the season for having this type of clients as well. While that's true, I'm not going to be old and wish that I had spent more time in my client season than in my kids season. So I just had to kind of think through, how do I prioritize meeting the needs of my family? Because I want to be there. I want to see my kids grow up while also still taking care of my clients and just having good boundaries. And all of my clients have said, you absolutely should be spending time with your family. So I think because of how my heart is, I draw clients who understand and also try to prioritize their family time as well, and understand that work can be done later if it needs to be done later. So, yeah, I actually now have forgotten what your question is. And
no. I think, all the intentional things that you're doing, managing yourself. Unfortunately for me, I try to do all those things you're saying, because they are excellent ways to make sure that you get balance in our lives. The other thing that I have started doing, which you reminded me, is taking this watch off. This watch gives me notifications as well. And so while I like it for what it provides, it doesn't let me escape some of the notifications, because now my watch gives me notification. I got to turn that off as well. So I think just being intentional there. So help me understand, what do you do with, you have this passion. It's in your heart, it's real. As you build your business, at some point, you may already have you have other employees that work for you. How do you instill this passion in them to be as excellent about what they do as you are? Because as you grow your business, you bring people on. As you bring people on, how do you instill the same passion into them?
Well, so far I've been blessed. I haven't really had to instill it. I have had to cast the vision. But when I was hiring, I looked more for passion and for coachability versus skill set can always be taught. And as long as they are wanting to be a learner and they don't get defensive when I'm coaching on how we do things that, line up with how I want our clients to be represented, most of them already have that passion for, whatever. And I want to step in with whatever their passion is. So if they have a passion for something else in their community, I say, well, how can we as Perfectly Polly support that as well? And so they've come up with some pretty cool ideas. But the biggest one is that they are all willing and ready to help the interns who come into work with us. So we protect that entry-level position for young adults aging out of the foster care system or who have aged out of the foster care system, to start teaching them just that data entry, super entry level stuff. We want to teach them those skills, but we really care more about those soft skills that come with working. Are you coachable? Can you research things? Can you find an answer? How do you be proactive? You don't just say, hey, I have a problem and wait for somebody else to fix it. You try to be the solution. So we work on trying to instill those types of skills. So when they leave us, any employer is super thankful to have them, no matter what skill set they need them to have. And then we also teach them life skills. So we have a team that we have they each have different really cool skills. And so one of my people really loves working on budgets. She's going to help them learn how to make a budget for their household. One is really good at like applying for scholarships and, applications for apartments, things that these young adults who never had somebody just stick with them in their corner. Most kids learn that from their parents and working on it with their parents. These young adults don't have that opportunity or didn't have the opportunity. And so we are trying to help build those types of things. So I think the sweet sauce for that is when you are interviewing and when you're hiring, you look for people who already line up with your heart and with your vision and with your mission, because the skill set can be taught. That can be learned. And then the other thing is just finding the right seat. So sometimes we bring people in with the right passion. They're having a hard time catching on to the skill set we need them to, but we have another seat that they would work in, like maybe data entry or bookkeeping is really not their thing, but they love to document some processes and policies. We're going to move them over to that seat and let them work on those things. So yeah, I think it's just, how do you hire at the front end? That's going to make your culture of your business is far more important than the level of skill that is in your business. Because if you can bring people into a culture that they like to stay, you're not having to retrain people every couple of months because they don't want to be there. And so I have learned if I focus on culture, the skill set comes, because I do have some very talented people who also don't mind sitting there and helping them figure out that piece of the skill that they're missing and helping them connect the dots. So you just have to hire passionate people is what it comes down to.
You are wise beyond your years, Bekah. I'm telling you. Yeah, just the way you articulate that. Again, you and I have the same heart, same brain. Talk about that later, but I mean, just excellent insights there. Where do you see your growth going as Perfectly Polly? Where do you see you taking this business?
Well, so I don't know. I'm having a hard time seeing where we're going, just because each year we have more than doubled in income and in client basis, and that's just because word of mouth has sent people to us. So we're still in that reactionary mode, which is not my favorite place to be. So we're working pretty hard to where we can get to that proactive state. So I do just expect us to keep growing. The goal for our whole team is that we are able to have multiple internship positions where they're learning different skill sets. Like, I would love for the person who is taking over the administrative tasks, maybe we have somebody who comes on as an intern and is interested in those administrative tasks, that they work with that person instead of just the data entry. We have a really cool social media team that if somebody came in and they were interested with social media, I could say, hey, can you take them on as an intern? Charge us for their hours, we'll take care of their training and stuff, but can they learn under you? And so that is my big goal, is in the next 5 to 10 years, have more partnerships with people who are willing to take on our interns, or also inspire businesses to do the same thing, to protect some of that entry level position, to start allowing these kids to they're not kids, they're young adults, to start feeling some stability, and then maybe send them to us for their life trainings. But that would be awesome. The other thing we've been working on is we've had quite a few CPAs who have asked us to train the bookkeepers from some of their other clients. And so we actually launched Ezekiel's Bookkeeper, where people can pay a monthly subscription to start learning the theory behind bookkeeping so that they can better understand their financials. Or if they wanted to launch their own bookkeeping business, they've got a good foundation to be able to do that, no matter what software they use. So we do see both of those growing. And I'm an entrepreneur, you know what that means. We're always thinking of the next thing that we can do. But I'm trying to not do that yet until I have our current state steady. I have learned that if you just keep sprinting to the next thing, nothing is built in a steady way. And my hope is that even when I'm gone, Perfectly Polly is still here impacting the communities in a positive way. And that leaves that lasting impact.
Yeah.
Not just within us, but just within the business community in general, where it doesn't need to just be about profits. You know, when I'm looking at the statistics of income is not going up, but all the expenses are, I'm like, there's got to be somewhere in between, that we can help companies realize it is actually good to pay your employees well, and you have the budget to do it. Let's find that, so that the United States is really a good place for everybody to be.
Absolutely.
So growth wise, we just want to keep growing in clients so we can keep having the hours to give to interns to learn. And we're going to keep expanding on Ezekiel's Bookkeeper for people who just want to better understand their financials.
Cool. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I love Ezekiel's Bookkeeping. That's pretty cool. Want to hear more
Yeah.
about last question.
Sure.
As you were sitting there, some years ago, contemplating what you were going to do, and think about that entrepreneur heart, that person that's sitting with a pencil and a pad in front of them, or a napkin or something like that. Like, they have this dream,
Yeah.
but they don't know what to do with all of this. What do you say to that person who is
Get started. That's it. I have a couple clients right now who they are like, what do I do? I'm like, you have been sitting in your thought process too long. An object in motion stays in motion. If you need to turn, it is easier to turn when you're walking than if you're standing still. And so done is better than perfect and not done. And so that is what I have found. My entrepreneur friends, they want it to be perfect. They want to launch everything perfectly. And I'm like, nobody expects perfect, first of all. Second of all, the people are going to connect with who you are versus what you sell. And so that's my biggest advice is quit writing your notes. Just start doing it and make adjustments as you go. Be as proactive as possible, obviously. Build you a plan, build you a budget, give yourself sales goals. You know, make it so you're super frugal. But the biggest advice that I have seen that all of my people who are thinking about starting businesses is quit being in the thought phase and just start doing it. The thought phase gets you $0 a month. The doing it starts getting you some and gives you some resources to put back into your business. So it's just to stop pausing, start doing.
Bekah, you are wise beyond your years. I love it. I mean, thank you so much for. I'm gonna go back and listen to this for myself. This has been exceptional to hear you share with you and let you share with our audience too. The audience, this is the Rhythm of Business podcast, and we have as our guest Bekah Polly, who is the CHO, Chief Heart Officer for Perfectly Polly, out of Louisville, Kentucky. Or they do bookkeeping. If you need her service, if you just want to talk to her and hear her heart, I would challenge you to reach out to her. She is a delight to hear and share with. So again, thank you so much for sharing with us, Bekah, this morning. And we look forward to you, guests, to come back and listen to another podcast of the Rhythm of Business podcast. Thanks so much and have a great one.